I guess this is the porn episode. How much porn is too much porn? And then...
And how much porn is not enough porn?
Yes. How much porn is not enough porn? Who watches porn? What the hell does that mean? What are the cultural, religious implications? Because I think there's some serious, undervalued cultural phenomenon here. Does porn alter your brain? Is it something that we should be afraid of? Do we need guardrails? And then, who the hell's watching all the porn? Well, it's not Americans. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. It's not?
Yeah. Like, America's so low on the list. There's like, number 1, Pakistan. Iran.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God, dude. I'm so glad you looked that up. I would have never, my mind never would have even gone there.
I knew this instantly when I started to think about like, well, there's some weird shit going on with sexual repression and like sex negative attitudes in American society that just drag over from puritanical shit, right? And I remember this because Melanie was telling me about Germany when she grew up, and they just had like light porn on TV every night. And that was normal on like public TV.
Oh, so young kids sometimes see it.
Of course.
And it's just no big deal.
Yeah, it's soft core, right? Not the hardcore stuff, but it's clearly naked people having sex. But so, and then I thought to myself, oh, okay, let's see which countries do. Well, the lineup was impressive. And of course, our buddies from Saudi Arabia are right there. Dude, I'm serious. Like,
okay, so is your thesis here that the more kind of puritanical sexual repression there is, the more porn is being watched? Is that kind of the idea?
Yep, definitely. And well, this is going to tie into when we start talking about the ideas that are prevalent here in America, because we have some sexual issues, but they're not that bad compared to some of these countries where you can't date, period, prior to marriage. You can't go around and hook up if you want to. And so then there is the gravity towards sexual experimentation and then fulfilling that sexual need through porn.
Yeah,
right?
Interesting.
Super accessible.
Yeah, I've been watching... I watch, everyone has their own like little podcasts, or I listen to YouTube videos. I don't even watch the videos, but I listen to them like while I'm working out. And then their little algorithm decides what I'm going to listen to. And so, I listen to some random people, and I've discovered, there's like a movement afoot in America of... they're not like the Trump supporter right-wingers. It's like the new right-wingers, like the Jordan Peterson right-wingers. And I'll just use Jordan Peterson as an example, though he's not the person I was thinking of, where there's a movement more towards like hookup culture is bad and sexual freedom is bad. And even like sex before marriage is kind of bad. So there's a movement in America, in this really contemporary, intellectual, critical thinking world, back towards in the category of kind of what you're describing as sexual repression. Wow. Have you noticed that?
No, I was
just Jordan Peterson, for example. He's a big proponent of like marriage and sticking with your wife and being true to your wife.
Yep.
And then not specifically Jordan Peterson, but other people kind of are in that category. The other people that will come up on algorithms of stuff around him. So it's the people that are listeners like, if they like Jordan Peterson, they also like these people. It's this idea that the feminist revolution, along with birth control, opened up sexual liberation, and now everyone can be fooling around and screwing around with everyone, which obviously is true. And then that has like weakened the fabric of our culture.
Yeah.
Like all these fatherless children and blah, blah, blah. It goes on. But there's this idea, and it's an interesting argument. I don't think I'm on their side, But it's this interesting argument that that they're like traditional family values are important for a strong, healthy societal fabric, and that being able to fool around and being able to like let loose and explore your sexuality like isn't good for society.
Okay, well, I think as Jordan Peterson tends to get slightly Christian and biblical at times, that must be why he's associated. I just noticed that theme specifically geared, like there's a religious anti-porn movement, and it's Christian.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, totally.
And their statements attempt to be scientific, but then they're like profoundly inaccurate. Like some of them will say that 50% of the divorces in America are due to pornography because it is a form of adultery. Right? Just look at that. And I have run into many couples and patients that will come in and say, yeah, if my husband looks at porn, he is cheating on me.
Yeah, totally. I've heard that plenty of times too. Yep.
That is a view. I don't think it's a very commonly held view, but it certainly is one, and it kind of drifts into this religious idea. And I've even heard that the same category of people will say that pornography changes your brain. It changes the physical structures of your brain. This is where it gets into like Christian Science, which whatever it, and then certainly the most obvious one that I heard was God made man in a way that he's not supposed to look at naked women. Okay,
so there's this movement, you're talking about it in Christianity, but I think it's in a lot of world religions. There's this assumption that like sexuality is a beast, a dirty, scary, dangerous beast, and we need to keep it like wrapped up tight and hidden and constrained and like in chains, locked away. We need to keep our sexuality there and really confined to marriage. And marriage is this very religious and even governmentally defined thing. And so it's kind of like this structure. And if we keep the beast, the scary, dangerous beast of sexuality safely contained in the cage of marriage, then we'll be safe and our society will be okay. But if we fucking start letting it out, all hell's gonna break loose. And porn is one of the ways, apparently, that the beast starts to come out of the cage.
Yes, it is. And this kind of idea that then I'm going to try to stick with these two ideas at the same time. That porn would then somehow create a problem for relationships in the future. It will somehow screw up your own physiology related to sexuality. So then you end up with some kind of this is the idea of why porn is bad, right? Like somehow young dudes will see porn, they'll get terrible ideas of what sexuality is, and then they will have unfulfilled relationships because they will not go and I don't know what the fuck are these people imagining is gonna happen. Like you're gonna go.
Well, I think here's what I think it is, and I think it's. I mean, I'm no expert on like how Saudi Arabian Muslims deal with sexuality. I don't really know, so I feel like I'm talking about something I'm not an expert. But I think this theme, what I'm about to say, goes across a lot of world religions or just a lot of cultures across the world. And it's this, is that we want to create a healthy, strong society. We want like a man and a woman to be together and they work together to raise their kids. And that's like a strong building block of community. And if we unleash the beast of sexuality, the men and maybe the women too will just go around fucking everyone, and there's not like, no one's taking care of the kids, and they're not even focusing on working their jobs and earning money and building the community. They're just focusing on like licking other people's crotches.
That's what you think the fear is?
Yes.
Well, so I guess, okay, maybe in some fundamental, basic fear that might be the case. But then as we get into the nuance of what is porn, how much porn are people watching, like what does it actually do to you in your self-concept, and then how does that affect your behavior of trying to then actually hook up with women?
Yes.
Where I guess this drifts into the no-fap movement, which that was funny to see that no-fap. You know what fap is?
No.
Fap is a anime sound for jerking off.
Oh.
Fap, 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 fap. Dude, so there's this, like, I don't even know, like, if it's attached to the manosphere, if it's an extension of being red pilled, or like, I don't know how much those two are connected, but there is this kind of idea that young dudes are suffering and struggling to be in relationships, and they're not hooking up with women as much. That is a fact. It's a statistical, like, observation. And
yep. And some people, I think this is stupid, but I bet there's a lot of people that say this would blame porn on that, because they can just go watch porn and fap away, and thus they don't do the work to be in a relationship.
Yes, that is the argument. And so then I don't know, perhaps for some people that is really what they're doing.
Yep.
They're well, certainly if we look at it, they are avoiding actual contact with women, and they're not hooking up because that is what we're observing. And
yep.
Is that the cause of porn, or is it some other more difficult cultural movements like the Me Too movement and or other things that became very scary about, like, hey, if I approach women, am I considered a creep or thirsty or somehow like rapey? It's rapey to go up and tell a girl that you like her. I've been told that by young dudes recently, within the past 5 years. So I'm not sure what is contributing to this feeling of isolation and struggle to actually get a girlfriend that you can have sex with. Like, Are we becoming somehow like a slightly Saudi country because of these weird ideas? Seriously, like, is that what's happening? Well, sir, I can't imagine how fucked up it would be when we were young if you finally got the balls and the knots in your stomach to go up to a girl that you like, and somehow you profess your love to her, and that's viewed as rapey.
Yeah, totally.
That would be.
I do think you're opening up a whole nother can of worms. I think there's a big, important, and problematic cultural movement of shaming male sexuality. That, like, male sexual desire is bad. Or, like, I even heard that, like, if you have a boner, you're a bad, rapey person. And I think a lot of men experience their boner as, like, evil, toxic masculinity.
Oh my, bro, that is super not cool. I kind of don't like this part of the discussion, right? Because I just
right, let's change the topic.
I just remember that is such a vulnerable part of your own, like, physical transformation into a sexually mature human being. It's so difficult and confusing physically and psychologically. And then to have these weird themes thrown on top of it, which are really prevalent. Remember, I grew up in fucking Punjab, right next to Pakistan, right? Yeah. They're identical. These are like the most porn-heavy places because of the fact that you cannot date it doesn't matter how much you like a girl, and if she likes you, you can't sneak away. There's nowhere to go to hook up. Like, and if it's found out, shame. So no one fucking does it, right? It is culturally not an option. And so, like, I don't know about these ideas. Well, shit, I don't want to say I don't know. I know a lot about these ideas. And where do we get to a place where here we are, and then we have to discuss clinically, like, where does the line get drawn between what are you doing with porn, and then when does it become an addiction?
Yeah. Okay, I think a fun and useful way to organize our conversation is to kind of come up with, and we can use patients we've had. I'll just come up with two sort of half fictional, half real patients that I just have seen patients like this a lot. Billy and Willie. Okay, I'll start off with Billy. Billy, he has a girlfriend, and she said, "You need to go to therapy, dude, because like our sex life is bad and you're not interested in having sex with me because all you do is watch porn." And so Billy comes in and he's like, "It's kind of true. It's like, you know, my girlfriend, and like she's all right, but whatever. But like, I just like when she goes to work, I just like watch porn a lot, like all day, every day. And then when she comes home from work, like I have no interest in like having sex with her. And like, so she told me I need to come to therapy." Okay, so that's Billy. Willie, very different guy. He's like super buttoned up, good little boy. He's never been with a woman. He went to college, got straight A's. Now he has a job as an IT person, doing really well, but he can't talk to women. And like, he's never masturbated, and he would never look at porn. And he's come because like he has anxiety, and he has anxiety about not being good enough, but he also has intense anxiety around talking to women, and he wants help to like navigate women and whatever. Okay, so I bring up Billy and Willie because I feel like it's almost like for Billy, I'm going to tell him, dude, stop fucking looking at porn so much. And Willie, I'm going to be like, dude, start looking at porn.
Oh, yeah. Why? Well, I can understand the temptation to tell Billy, maybe you should curb this shit. But why? Why should he? Why? Why should he curb it?
I think because I think Billy's using porn as an escape from actual human relationships. And he's almost using it as a drug, like a dopamine hit drug that helps him escape from life. Mm-hmm. And because he's like addicted to porn and that dopamine hit and addicted to that escape, he's just like, he just sits in front of his computer and wastes his life, and his girlfriend's gonna end up breaking up with him because he's like addicted to this porn habit thing.
So you think the compulsion related to addiction actually will happen with pornography?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, well, sir...
I don't think the porn is the root cause, but him stopping would probably be helpful in the larger work that he needs to do.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to at least clarify, like, is porn addiction real? And then how would you know? How would anyone know if what they're doing has drifted out of, like, healthy use towards now I'm headed towards Mr. Billy's life of
I think the typical definition of like what's an addiction or what's like clinically significant problem is like, does it impair a healthy lifestyle kind of thing?
Yep.
You know, and so if a person watches porn 3 times a day and jerks off 3 times a day, but they're doing well in life all around, like you can't really call them an addict. But if someone is spending 40 hours a week watching porn and they're not working and their girlfriend's getting mad at them, they're probably an addict.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing, but I've only seen one person, no, two, one woman and one man who were so wrapped up in porn that it disturbed them. Most people are like, hey, I've been sent here because my wife says I'm cheating, or I don't know, do I have a problem? And their use is less than 3 times a day, but they're like, they have some kind of strange ideas that is this addiction, right? And
right, but I think a lot of people whose wife are telling them they're addicts or whatever, they're more on the Willie side, not the Billy side. It's like someone has labeled sexuality or porn or whatever as toxic masculinity, and it's fucking bullshit. So a lot of people that are in, but Willie and Billy, I was trying to make them be fairly obvious examples, but usually it's not that obvious. Usually there's a more middle ground where it gets kind of confusing.
Well, like I feel this like strong need to point out where it is that the use of porn gets weird or not. But so oh man, I had this like crazy experience when I was in college. This kind of relates to these. There's like an underlying assumption that if you watch too much porn, you will habituate to a type of immediate sexual gratification that then makes it very difficult to, in the real world, go out and do the long pursuit of courtship. And then, like, how do you actually then meet someone out and then end up back into a place where you can have sex? That's kind of the underlying theory around what's wrong with pornography. In how does it interrupt you being able to get into real relationships, right?
Yep.
But when I was in college, I had this roommate. I went to an engineering school, and one of my roommates somehow figured out how to make or acquire what was called a black box. And so you hook this up to cable, and you suddenly have like over 1,000 channels on cable. And this is prior to the internet having pornography. Like back then, I don't even know if, I think porn was just like you could download a picture and it would literally go line by line. It was like dial up.
Yeah.
And you would just get an image after like 10 minutes. That was what porn, internet porn, right?
Yeah, but when we were growing up, until the internet exploded, porn basically was Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler.
Yeah.
VCR videotapes.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was some cable channels like that you could buy that some old scary dude down the block would have, and you'd try to look through his window while he's watching it to see, or you get a black box or something.
Yeah, so on this black box, there was real hardcore porn, straight channels of it. And so my roommate and I decided, as soon as we discovered this, it was just like, oh my God, this is unbelievable, how strange. I don't think I'd ever actually seen porn before. And so we just left it playing in our apartment for 3 days straight. So it's not like private in your room. This is in the living room, right?
Yeah.
We left it like on. We didn't turn the channel. We just left it on. And so like dudes from down the hall would come over and just be like, "Oh shit, look at that. Oh, whoa. And my roommate and I would just like wake up and be like, oh, by like day 2, we were like eating cereal, watching porn. And actually this strangest thing happened because it was not associated with masturbating. It was literally just like, we're observing this like an animal show, right?
Yeah.
It's like watching a show. And so I'm not sure what part of our brains were getting desensitized, but it was like the exact opposite of what everyone was saying. By the weekend, when both of our girlfriends showed up, and we turned the porn off, obviously, because we were like, I don't think they're going to like this. And so when they showed up, I just remember my own internal experience of just being like, hey, can we like just talk and like hold hands or something? Like, I had this like, and normally when she would come over, I would just be like so trying to figure out how to get her clothes off.
Yeah, totally.
Like that was normally my reaction. I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen her in a couple of days. Like, dude, I got to figure out how to get her clothes off. This time she shows up and I was totally like super not interested in her being naked. I just wanted to connect in this totally different way. Like, how backwards is that? And I remember in college, because I was studying psychology, and I would do a lot of like strange social experiments for my classes. And this is not one that I actually like wrote and submitted to my teachers, but this was a pretty awesome study. What do you think about that, like, strange habituation that occurred?
It's a good story to illustrate this a point that's important. I think that well, let me back up a little. Any mostly charged topics or topics that have a lot of intensity around, people want to quickly come up with sort of a black and white yay or nay position and then just stick with it. Porn's bad, no, porn's good. Sexuality needs to be contained in marriage. No, polyamory, sexuality, sexual liberty. They want to like quickly thing. And I think the reality with most things is it's complicated and there's different truths for different people in different times. It's just like more complicated. And so this story you told just kind of points out one of the less obvious truths around sexuality, and that is that in a more puritanical culture where we hide sex from kids and we don't talk about sex with kids because it's dirty and scary and bad, there's this like aspect of the human that's like a starved like a person who was raised in a cave and finally, like, it was sort of like your story is like finally you were allowed to come out of the cave and see the world, and it's like, wow, this world, and you just like almost would drink it in to just be educated and exposed to this big part of what it is to be a human.
I think that the taboo itself is something that is a big driver. Like in the old days of porn on VCRs or on the videos that I saw from the black box, it was like the story theme was like, oh, pizza delivery guy shows up and he delivers it, and there's these horny girls there who like are like, ooh, come in, and then they have sex, right?
Right.
Like they like convince this guy to have sex, and whatever. There's just themes like that. That was like, ooh, taboo for back then. Now shit is like pushing the boundaries, and it's so into the stupidest taboos of like, oh, stepbrother, stepsister hookup, stepdad like punishes stepdaughter by fucking her, or that's the weirdest shit. Like they're trying to make up taboo as it runs out.
Yep.
And like, I don't know what the next thing they're going to try to invent or like, I don't know what's left. I don't know what's left to unveil.
Right. But one of your points is that part of the whole porn thing and part of people's sexual behavior isn't even really about sexuality. It's about it's rebelling against taboos or messing with taboos. So it's almost just a social, moral exercise.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're adding another level of complexity. And I think there's a lot of levels of complexity to it. And it's not so easy just to say porn porn good. There's sort of two camps. There's the like sex positive camp, which we think of it more politically liberal, LGBT, polyamory, sex positive. There's that camp of just like open up sexuality and it's all good and explore. And part of that camp is the sex positive is like pro pornography. It's sort of like as long as all adults are consenting, anything goes, knock yourself out. And there's and honestly, I'm much more in that camp, just to be honest. And there's truths to that camp. But I also feel like there's truths to the other camp of like, yeah, but maybe we should have some structure or some discipline or some restraints or some awareness of that when people have a lot of sex, kids are created, and it's important to take care of those kids. And families and marriages tend to take kids better than just this random hookup culture. So let's think about that and let's try to like deal with that. Or yeah, people do get addicted to porn and it does lead them to be lonely, miserable fucking saps. So I feel like there's truths on that side of it too.
Yeah. Man, I'm like within the subcategories of porn. Did I ever tell you about this theory I had once upon a time where I thought I would be able to, and I think some AI or very simple algorithm would be able to calculate where, like, based on which category of porn you what you choose, it would somewhat illuminate where you are in the process of sexual maturation. Because I think sexuality actually is something that starts very I don't know what to say. Like,
yeah, it's like unrefined, undeveloped, immature,
it's just like
mysterious, unknown.
It's just some kind of unknown thing. And then as you go along, and I hear this quite a bit about people who like were raised in really different ideas of sexuality than America and or Pakistan, right? Or Saudi Arabia. Like some cultures are super different about sex. And so when you're young, first thing you do is your dad takes you to get some prostitutes. And then now you're a man, right? And so then like, I think those kinds of experiences produce a really different relationship towards sex, because what you end up doing in those original experiences is pretty hardcore fucking, as opposed to like you're trying to figure shit out and you gradually go from kissing to touching and whatever shit happens, right? Like that there's like a natural progression rather than you are a little dude and now you're with this like totally mature sexual professional who basically like has hardcore sex with you, right? And so like there's an element in that which I don't know, is that good? Is that a good technique? Does that lead towards someone who's then very confident and a great lover and then capable of really good relationships, or what do you think about that? I just put you on the spot.
I'm honestly, it's a topic where I'm a little like uncertain, which is good. I feel like I like these topics because I feel like this is where my learning and my learning curve is for sure. I believe that, and I think this is kind of what you're saying, that there's this growth that is really helpful for humans to explore their sexuality, watch some porn, fool around, try different stuff with different people, experiment, be wild. And then like as you get more and more mature in sexuality, you can start talking to your partner and really let your imaginations and creativities, and there's a whole realm of like psychological, sexual, intimate, emotional, like relational things that can happen between consenting adults. It's a whole fascinating, rich world of deep psychological, relational, emotional, sexual connection exploration. And it can feel artistic, it can feel spiritual, it can feel therapeutic. And I feel like that whole realm is really fucking important to go into. However, I also think there's truth to the other side of like the whole when Jordan Peterson talks about marriage, I'm like, there are some good points he's making. Or when people talk about the value in like two people committing to each other as life partners and raising kids within that loving thing. Like there's some truth to that too. And it's like I haven't quite fit all the puzzle pieces together yet.
I don't really even see how porn is even related to a healthy family structure, right? Okay, one time I went to go visit my buddy in Spain. I don't know what I was doing in Europe, and I go to meet him in Barcelona, and then I travel with his family and some other related families, and we end up at this beach town. I don't know if it was in Spain or south of France. I can't remember. And I just remember I left the family at the beach and I went somewhere, and I come back and two of the moms are sitting there with their 13-year-old daughters, and they're showing them how to give blowjobs on popsicles. Like long, they had these long popsicles for sale and the thing, and the moms are showing the daughters how to give blowjobs, right? And I walk up, and they didn't stop this lesson. They were just still like, oh yeah, they didn't care. They didn't mind that I was there. And so I got totally weirded out, and I politely meandered away. Well, this is a family that is super not afraid of sexuality. Like, not afraid at all. That one of those 13-year-old girls was super cute, and I was like in my 20s, and she was like super interested in me, and would frequently come and sit on my lap and want to like, and I would just look at the adults when this would happen and be like, what the fuck should I do? And they were all just like, yeah, just go with that. And they like trusted me to be able to be like, okay for her to express this level of thing in front of everyone. But then they trusted that I wouldn't somehow then like go and molest her. I think that's amazing. Like, that is so amazing. And I didn't do anything fucking weird. I just like, but it was very weird for me because I was not raised like that. Right. I don't think very many people are raised in a world where this is totally okay. Yep. Like, that was a really wild experiment of just seeing like some families and cultures are not afraid of sexuality, right? Totally. And I'm not saying European ones are, but that one was.
Yeah, I feel like Thai culture is much more okay with and embracing and allowing of sexuality everywhere all the time. And in many ways, it feels like Thai culture is much more mature and more highly evolved sexually than American culture or than Pakistani culture.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Thai culture, but I have, I mean, obviously everyone's heard of that people go there for prostitutes.
Yep. And because I think, now I'm no expert, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here, but that like in Thai culture, like there's nothing wrong with prostitution. It's like big deal. Like humans want sex, and so some people provide sex, and then it's an exchange of this resource for that resource. Like, what's the big deal? Why is that a moral problem? And Thai culture just has that. And they don't, and they're more open around the age thing. Like in the US, it's arbitrarily like before 18, it's bad, and after 18, it's totally cool, which kind of doesn't make sense. What makes more sense is more of a gray scale. Or honestly, if we get biological about it, I'm guessing a lot of cultures through time, the signal of when it's okay just had to do with puberty and physical sexual maturation. That sex with pre-pubescent people is bad and not okay, but post-pubescent is fine. And that kind of biologically makes sense. And I bet that's what most humans and honestly most like animals have been doing for millions of years.
That's definitely true.
Yeah. Then also when you look at animals, the way animals do sex, and I don't know why dogs in third world countries come to mind, but when you're in third world countries, there's these roaming bands of dogs all the time, and everyone's just always humping everyone, and no one gives a fuck, you know?
Yeah. But there are a lot of rules here in the U.S. about that, and then there turns out to be this whole like weird thing of internet predators where there's old dudes going and trying to hook up with underage girls. Once again, this goes back to my idea of the fucking taboo. Like,
yeah.
Or I have two competing theories. I think there is an issue about rebelling against taboos, and then also this I forgot to tell you my theory about the type of porn that you watch may predict what stage of development you are in.
I like that theory.
But so
I think stages of development in general is a really important part of this discussion.
Right. So there's some strange implied idea that some people believe that when you have sex with the person that you care about, it should be romantic and you make love, and then that is the type of sex that you have. And then that there's no room in that concept for utility sex. There's no room for like, and when I say utility sex, I mean it's just like, hey, one of the partners is horny and wants to have sex, and the other one is like not interested, but they're just like, okay, soldier up, let's do it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Either
right.
way, whichever one it is. Sometimes it's the lady, sometimes it's the man, or some other different types of sexual expression, like you wanna fuck hard, and for some reason that is a drive. And it could be a woman or a man that wants to have sex in a little more aggressive way than making love.
Yeah, and this gets into what I was saying about the psychological thing. When people want to do that, and it can be fucking hard or getting kind of like aggressive, or it can be like super tender and soft, or it could be like, I want to be like the baby little boy and you be the mommy and you come in like whatever. Like it could be anything. And it gets into this psychological fucking world that I think is really like rich place to explore and to grow psychologically.
So what do you think a sexually mature person would be like what is a sexually mature person's relationship to pornography?
Okay, and I think that's kind of the question we're trying to answer here. And I think to give a good answer, we do have to, it's too bad we don't have this figured out and we could drop the chart, but we have to define different developmental stages, and the answer to the question is different for the different developmental stages. And I think that's part of the argument.
Yes.
That's part of the argument why people are arguing is these people are arguing at different stages, and so it doesn't quite make sense.
That is exactly that what you just said is perfect. We need to actually make that diagram because it would answer a lot of these questions because they fit into certain places as you put out. So let's just skip the most obvious fundamental one that drifts towards religious, just get rid of sex. It's a beast, like suppress it. The most basic.
But that there's truth to that at a certain stage. And so let me attempt to think aloud here. And the stages aren't just sexual stages, but they're also like other maturity stages. So imagine the stage of development and it's fairly primitive, but there's a lot of fucking people at this stage where they kind of don't really give a fuck about anyone else besides themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to fuck, so they're just going to fuck as much as they can, and they don't give a fuck about the person they're going to fuck or the offspring that are going to create it by fucking.
Okay.
That's a more primitive developmental stage, and there's a lot of people on planet Earth at that stage.
Yeah.
Those people need a different set of rules than imagine this stage, and this person is super conscientious, very sensitive to and respectful of others. If that person created another baby, they'd be an awesome parent to it. They, you know, like that, the rules for that person and this person are very different.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of more subtle, complex stages in there, and the rules for them are different. And back to my Billy and Willie, you can see that Billy and Willie are at different stages. And so the way they should use porn or should have their sexuality is really very different.
I like that. I like that distinction a lot. And I can't believe you brought fucking Billy and Willie back. But yes.
Or like your example, your story that was so good when you guys were in that dorm room or whatever, watching the porn, that was a really good, helpful, valuable thing for you guys at your developmental stage.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just like pure exploration in a way. And for some reason, the way that we did it, we had very, very little shame or negative emotional reaction to it. In fact, it was almost more like, hey guys, we found some crazy shit. Everyone should come see this. And everyone's reaction, it was like a public display of like, let's see what this is. And then I kind of wasn't into porn for like a while. After that, it was just like it was absolutely non-addicting in through this lens. But also there's some really unique physiological things that happen when you look at porn. I saw a study that showed that you get an increase in testosterone up to 30% 90 minutes after you watch porn. But and I knew this was a phenomenon. I just wanted to see if it was like if you talk to what is identified as an attractive woman, you talk to her for like 10 minutes. Afterwards, you get up to a 60% boost in testosterone.
Wow.
But so then I imagined having like a less interactive one from a screen would do something, and it's true. It increases your testosterone, and it's like. I don't know if an increase in testosterone is good. Like, I don't know if that's good, but that's just something that happens. And so then to get into this idea of like, oh yeah, you get a dopamine release from seeing certain porn. Well, there's a shit ton of porn out there that if I looked at it, I would be fucking disgusted. I would get this repulsed. In fact, most porn that's out there, I am not interested in. Yeah. The majority of it, right? Yeah. Like, and I bet you if we asked, I bet you if you did a selection of that and exposed people to like the vast array of it, there would be a huge difference in how people reacted to what they see. All porn is not the same.
Yep. For sure.
And it impacts you in like identifiable ways. Like, for example, I think when people are trying to seek out porn that is like huge cocks, fuck, blah, 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 right? Like, this goes back to a theory that I actually had, and I think is accurate, that then you have a problem with your own ability to express more assertive sexuality.
Oh.
Right?
So you want to watch porn that sort of expresses what you need to express.
Yes. This is to some degree one of the drivers developmentally. It doesn't explain why the most watched porn is gangbang porn. Like, I don't know why that is.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the most popular gangbang?
That is the most popular, strangely. And I've heard evolutionarily that goes back to the way that we all used to have sex prior to that's one theory. One working theory of why is that the most watched porn? Well, apparently that's how we used to have sex. Is like one one woman would be ready to have sex, because this is certainly what happens with chimps, right?
Yeah.
One chimp is fertile, and then she has sex with every member of the troop.
Yeah.
Every member of the troop, right? So I don't know what to say about that. like evolutionary thing. It's just further, as you point out, creates layers upon layers of complexity. And I think you did a really good service of pointing out that there are stages of sexual development that overlap with general emotional and psychological development, and then where these controversies land are specifically related to those areas. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
I really like that, man.
And if I add to that, there is the right wing traditionalists. Part of the truth is this sex positive thing, which I think is really true, and I'm kind of in that camp because I think it works for my developmental level. But when people who aren't ready for that see the sex positive stuff and then they start doing it, it is actually a bad thing, and it's bad for society, and it's bad for everyone.
Why? Why? Just help me with that one thing. Why is it bad?
Well,
what
I just
happens?
give you a super simple thing, it's like, imagine a man, and I don't like to, I think genders could go any which way, but I'm just going to do the stereotypic thing. Imagine a man he's not very evolved, he's not very mature, and for him, sex is like, I want to get off, I don't give a fuck about the chick, I don't give a fuck about anything. The way that guy would work best is in this more primitive religious rule of like, okay, dude, then you get this wife, but then you have to take care of her and you have to take care of the kids. And he's like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And he fucks his wife and he goes to work, takes care of her, takes care of the kids, and that works well. But now take that man and stick him into a sex positive thing, and he goes around impregnating tons of ladies, doesn't take care of any of the kids, and does like questionable kind of rapey things because he can get away with it.
Yeah. Okay. I now understand what you meant by that. That creates a problem. That creates this perception of masculinity as toxic.
And those dudes, like, they kind of do need a more structured, external structure, external discipline container for their sexuality to be okay. But when you have all these different people at different developmental levels in one society that has the same rules, it creates problems.
Yes, sir.
And it's a super not PC thing to say, well, these people should have different sexual rules than these people should have different sexual rules than these people. It's like, you can't really do that, you know?
No, that is super not, no one's going to like this part of the conversation. And
well, I think it's fine. Different people are mature at different levels and have evolved at different levels. Who the fuck wouldn't agree with that if they...
plenty of fucking idiots. Plenty of fucking morons would say that we are all equal at all times. It is your choice. It is your fucking sexuality. Full denial.
Okay, well then
absolute
part of the
denial.
Fucking problem.
That is a cultural issue. But it's a cultural issue only created out of ignorance. It would be very hard to say that after listening to what we've just said for like an hour.